Okay, for part 2 we are going to look at a few more properties. We're going to work on the movie that we worked on in part 1, and I'm just going to show you how you can affect things like rotation, height, width and alpha, just to give you some kind of control. So I'm just going to jump back to the movie that I was working on in part 1. We've already written some action script for this, but let's go and mess about with this. So at the moment we've got the actual X position equal to the X mouse. Now what happens if we go in here and we change a couple of things? If I change the height of an object, now I'm going to just turn this off for a second, this bottom one, and you can do that by just hitting two forward slashes. What's going to happen here is that the height, it's from top to bottom, is going to be affected by the X mouse, which is left to right. Now what you've got here is values. This stage, as you can see down here, is 550 by 400, which means it's 550 pixels across this way and 400 pixels down. 0 is the top left hand corner. So as I move my mouse across on the X, we're going halfway is about 225. That means then that this object's height will change from what it is now, which if I could drop down the properties, she's a bit further down, which I don't think I can get. There we go. Let's bring this up a bit more. Is 72 by 72. It will change to 225. As I go further and further along, it will get taller and taller and taller, because that value of the mouse position is being transferred to the height of this position. So if we test the movie, you can see that as I move backwards and forwards, the height is being changed, the object is being stretched. Let's go back in there and change that. We can also affect the width, so if I replace this and type in width instead, and do the same thing, you'll notice now we've got an object which is stretching. Then if I go back in and release this, and I put in height, test the movie, we've now got the mouse position changing the size of this object. So that's quite useful, width and height. So let's change this now to rotation. Rotation will work from 0 to 360. Plus value, it will rotate clockwise. Minus value, it will rotate anti-clockwise. So if we do this now, you can see we've now got an object which is rotating as we move across. And then for the final one, alpha, which is its opacity, same thing, but this works on a value of 0 to 100, so we'll only get about a third of the way across, or a fifth of the way across the stage before it becomes fully opaque. But we can add a little bit of math into there to change that, but just let's see what happens. So we've got 0 all the way up to 100%, and of course we're going above 100%, so it doesn't do anything, but now we're controlling its opacity. Now we can obviously change that with a little bit of code. We can take the alpha and we can divide the X mouse position by a certain value. So if we divide it by 5, when we get up to 500, that will give us a value of 100. Just check that's okay. So now as we go across, we'll get much more breadth across the stage. It gets fully opaque to about here, which is about 500. So there you go. So just looking at that again, you can see X mouse divided by 5.